Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Well, after Deadpool was released back in February, it became the highest grossing X-Men movie of all time. Yes, I can just taste those Bryan Singer tears from here. Hey Bryan Singer, what's that on the ground over there? It looks like a dead animal. Oh no, it's the memory of your X-Men movies. Yeah, take your weird black leather fetish and go back to the 90s, man. But needless to say, after the first Deadpool being such a success, there's a lot of anticipation for the sequel. Here's a couple of things that just I personally would love to see in Deadpool 2. So in the end credit scene, Deadpool says that Cable will be in the sequel. Now for the uninitiated, Cable is a cyborg from the future with a mixture of mutant powers like telepathy and various technological gadgets that give him the ability to like teleport and most importantly, travel through time. So Cable's inclusion in Deadpool 2 will probably mean that there's going to be time travel shenanigans going on. And considering that a lot of the humour of Deadpool is him trolling comic book movies for all of their cliches and all of their tropes.
Woo! Superhero landing! Yeah, that's really hard on your knees.
Totally impractical, they all do it.
The idea of Deadpool being able to poke fun at all of the insane time travel stuff that has already happened in the X-Men franchise alone is very exciting. There's so many things he can make fun of.
Let us go talk to the professor.
McAvoy or Stewart? These timelines are so confusing.
And I really love the idea of like a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure style movie, but starring Deadpool and Cable. That'd be pretty cool. Like maybe something happens in the timeline so they have to jump back and forth and fix it. You know, there was a time in the comics where Deadpool traveled back in time and he landed in a golden age issue of the Spider-Man comic, and he had to like assume the role of Spider-Man using like an image inducer that made him look like Peter Parker, and he had to do everything in that comic exactly the same way as Spider-Man did in the original issue in order to keep the timeline intact. And while there has been some internet chatter going around about the prospect of them maybe getting Spider-Man in for a cameo, realistically I don't think that's going to happen. There's just so much legal red tape around getting that character. I just don't think it's possible. But that doesn't mean that they couldn't still do this same storyline, but instead of Deadpool impersonating Spider-Man, you could have Deadpool impersonating Wolverine. They've actually kind of already foreshadowed that in the first movie. And yeah, I know Logan is supposed to be Hugh Jackman's last Wolverine, but come on, I'm sure Hugh Jackman will be up for it. And if he's willing to show up for a pointless cameo in X-Men Apocalypse, why would he not be willing to show up for the sequel of the most successful X-Men movie ever made?
Did you guys get any notes from the studio to sew Eddie's mouth shut? Make lasers shoot from his eyes?
I didn't, but I thought it'd be a great idea. As a story, it totally makes sense.
100%.
Always.
100%. Do you ever age?
Not since 2008.
You're gorgeous.
There's also a story in the comics where Deadpool like accidentally brings dinosaurs forward into the present day. They should do that as well, because who would not want to see Deadpool riding a T-Rex? I'm guessing a bunch of people are going to disagree with me on this point, but while I acknowledge that the love story aspect of the first movie worked just fine, I really don't want to see Deadpool in a relationship. It just seems boring to me. He's supposed to be a pants man, right? You can't put him in a steady relationship. It'd be like making Conan the Barbarian a vegetarian, or making Iron Man a shy, introverted book nerd.
It's like seeing a lion eating some hummus.
Doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't make any sense.
But on the other hand, I do understand that the romance in the first movie was Deadpool's entire motivation throughout the movie. It was the reason why he did everything. So to rip that out of the sequel would leave quite a void in the story, but maybe there's a way that we can have our cake and eat it too. Okay, so Deadpool in the comics is as mad as a bag full of snakes. He hears different voices in his head coming from different parts of his personality. He sees things that may or may not actually be there. At one time he even gets ripped completely in half and regenerates as two totally separate people with two different personalities, but that's a whole nother story. The point is, Deadpool's brain needs to be scrambled for him to go full Deadpool. So why not make it that as he's slowly getting more and more crazy, he starts cheating on his girlfriend Veronica because he keeps forgetting that he's in a relationship with her, kind of like Notebook style. That could actually open up a lot of room for comedy, like she walks in on him with another woman and he's like, oh, that's right, you're my girlfriend. But it could also like bring in some like real sort of depth for Deadpool, and also like the tragedy of his story, like that he can't remember the love of his life and the memory of her is like gradually slipping away from him and he can't stop it. It could add a lot of depth there and a lot of tragedy to his character, but it means he could start playing the field again.
Wait a tick. That means I'm single again! Oh, behave! Yeah!
Yeah, I do know that Vanessa in the comics eventually becomes Copycat, and you know, they can still do that with her if they want to, but just scramble Deadpool's brain so that he's not stuck in a relationship because it's boring. Maybe you can have him hook up with like the Cuckoo Girls, and you know, it's not weird for him to date 3 girls at once because they're a hive mind, so technically they are just one person. So it's not weird, it's just really awesome. One of the best things about Deadpool is all the meta jokes and the fourth wall breaking.
Her. Fourth wall break inside a fourth wall break. That's like 16 walls.
He's the only character in the comics who realizes that he's in a comics. He's the only one who can see the speech bubbles that the reader of the comic can see. And while they had a bit of that going on in the movie, I'd like to see the movies take things up a notch with the meta jokes.
He did it. What?
There's actually a moment in one of the She-Hulk issues where she actually jumps out of the panel and runs across an ad page of the comic before jumping back into the panel again to continue with the story. Maybe you could have Deadpool do something like that. Like, you know how in Last Action Hero, the characters there would jump out of the movie screen and land in the cinema? Maybe you could have Deadpool like crash through the movie screen with a couple of henchmen and he fights them through the cinema. Maybe they go out into the foyer and people scatter and he grabs a guy's face and kills him by shoving his head in the popcorn machine. You could have like a poster on the wall of maybe like a DC movie called Deathstroke, and you could rip that off the wall and smash a picture over a guy. You know, kind of like a reference to the fact that Deadpool's Wade Wilson is a satire of Deathstroke's Slade Wilson in the DC universe. See, that's a very meta joke there. Maybe they could even try doing something where they like troll the audience. Perhaps they can have a moment in the movie where it seems like the projector has broken, or like the camera has like burned out of the projector, so people in the audience think the movie is wrecked. Then Deadpool could like pop into the frame and be like, what the hell just happened to my movie? Jump out of the screen into the audience full of people wearing all Deadpool merchandise, go backstage, find the projector, fix it, and then run back and jump back in the movie. Like something like that could be cool. Next level meta jokes. That's what I would like to see. And of course, be sure to bring back Hydra Bob. He's very important. He must appear again in the sequel. In a weird way, the plot of a Deadpool movie kinda doesn't matter because Deadpool is not the place for a sophisticated story, because he's a character who is not going to go along with what normally happens in these kind of movies anyway. The first movie was a very generic, standard superhero origin story. The entertainment came from the fact that Deadpool didn't care what the movie wanted to be. He was always just gonna do what he wanted to do.
Con, they're all lame-ass teachers' pets.
You know I can hear you.
Wasn't talking to you. I was talking to them.
So for a sequel, this is a rare case where they should not try to do anything new or special with the plot. Rather, the movie should be trying to tell a standard story, but Deadpool is trolling the plot by not going along with it.
I've time traveled from the future to bring you a dire warning about...
Oh God, here he goes again. He's not here 10 seconds before he starts boring us with his dire warning from the future crap.
Sinister has knocked out the X-Men by broadcasting...
We may want to pay attention. This could explain a critical plot point.
The survival of Earth entirely depends on... which all hinges on you, Wade. Now here's the critical part.
It's so boring.
And then they can go off on their Bill and Ted adventure, patching up the timeline. But Deadpool control the plot by doing all of the stuff that we as the audience usually think of in time travel movies. Like, why don't you just go back in time to when the bad guy's dad meets the bad guy's mom and make sure they never meet, and boom, villain never existed. Problem solved. Oh, but then I guess you'd go back to the present again and the timeline would have shifted and there'd be like cyborg bunny rabbits that have taken over or something like that. Yeah, whatever. So to sum up, I think Deadpool 2 needs to be a Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure style movie, with Deadpool going more crazy as a way to get rid of the romance story, next level meta jokes, and Deadpool trolling a very simplistic plot by not going along with it. Throw all those things together and I'll be a very happy moviegoer. But those are just my ideas. Let me know in the comment section what you guys think. And by the way, some of you guys might have noticed that I'm doing a little bit of an overhaul of the channel at the moment. I'm changing up the way I do things. So from now on, I'm going to be doing 1 video a week instead of 2 or 3 videos a week, but I'm going to spend more time on them to hopefully make them better quality videos for you guys. And I'm going to be uploading and releasing these videos every Friday afternoon, American time. So from now on, you can always count on a video from me every Friday afternoon. That doesn't mean that if like movie news breaks or something happens that I'm not going to cover it if it's at a different time of week. I still will, but you can always count on a video from me here on Friday. And to make sure that you're getting videos that you want, at the end of each video, like this one here, I'll put up a vote so you can decide what video I'll cover next. So for next week, your choices are, I was thinking of doing either an Aquaman how to do it video, so a video like this, but on my ideas of how to make like an Aquaman movie, or a video on like DC alien crossovers in the comics. A couple of you guys mentioned this in the comment section, some of my other videos, like the comic where Batman fights the Predator, or where Superman fights xenomorphs. I could do a video on that. So if you click on the card here in the top right corner, and this card works on mobiles and iPads and stuff as well, click on that, you can vote for which one you want, and whichever one wins, I'll do that next week. Another thing that works on phones and mobiles is all of these links you see right here. So if you want to check out more of my stuff, just go tapping on them or clicking or whatever right now. I am Bandit, this is Bandit Incorporated. Until next time, I will see you guys in the comments.